February 9th, 1855. Devon, England. People woke to fresh snow and a quiet morning. As they stepped outside, they saw something they did not expect. A single line of hoof-shaped prints moving through yards, over low walls, across roofs, even down to the river and up the far bank. Each mark was about 4 inches long and cloven. The steps were evenly spaced, one after another, as if they'd been placed with care. At one house, the prints reached the front door, stopped, and then appeared again beyond the back door, with no sign of anyone passing through the room in between. By midday, many were using the same word for the visitor that had crossed their snow: devil. Welcome to Mystery Trails. If you enjoy clear, thoughtful deep dives into unsolved cases and strange events, you're in the right place. Please subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss new episodes, and tap like to help others find this story. Share it with someone who loves a good mystery. Now let's walk through what happened in Devon and consider what might explain it. Snow is good at keeping records. It shows where people and animals have been. That morning in Devon, the weather had been calm, so the prints held their shape. Reports came in from several towns: Taos Hum, Exmouth, Dawlish, Teignmouth, and Newton Abbot. Many people measured the marks. They noted the cloven shape, the size, and the steady distance between each step, often around 8 to 16 inches. The line did not wander. It went straight over obstacles and kept going. Animals reacted in ways that caught attention. Some dogs refused to cross the trail. Families kept children inside. Neighbors spoke in doorways and at church. Some priests told people not to jump to conclusions, and also not to be too sure that we already understand everything in nature. It was a calm message for a restless day. Eyewitnesses described similar scenes. In Taos Hum, the prints entered a garden, went up onto the roof tiles, and continued in a straight path. In Dawlish, the line reached a narrow drain, disappeared, and then appeared again beyond it with the same neat spacing. Near Exmouth, people followed the trail down to the river, across the ice, and up the other side with no sign of a slip or a pause. As stories spread, the distance covered grew in the telling. Some said 10 miles, others 50, and some even 100. The exact total is unclear, but the core fact remains. Many people in many places saw the same kind of track that morning. What unsettled people most was not only the shape of the prints, but the discipline of the path. It did not look like the route of a grazing animal. It did not loop or meander. It crossed paths, fences, and stacked hay as if those things did not matter. In cluttered yards, the spacing adjusted slightly, then returned to normal beyond. The pattern felt planned, even if no planner could be seen. Over time, a number of natural explanations have been suggested. Some thought of an escaped kangaroo from a private menagerie. Kangaroos, however, leave paired prints and often a tail mark, and the roofs and walls of old Devon cottages are not friendly to that kind of movement. Others suggested otters or badgers traveling at night. Those animals do cross yards, but their paths tend to curve and pause, and their tracks look different. Another idea was that small hopping mice left the first marks and then sun and frost enlarged them into something hoof-like. Freeze and thaw can distort prints, but many reports describe a clear inner cleft that this process would blur. And mice do not move across roofs in steady strides. Some pointed to wading birds, which can leave unusual patterns, but bird tracks show toes, and the reported lines moved over obstacles in ways birds do not. People have also asked whether it could have been a hoax. It is possible to imagine someone carving cloven stamps and walking on stilts, or lowering a stamp from a window by rope to mark a roof, or using ladders to keep the line going. But practical problems show up quickly. Icy roofs are slippery. Rope stamping leaves different depths. Long nights bring fatigue, and fatigue brings mistakes in spacing. To cover so many places in one calm night without being seen would take a lot of people moving in secret with perfect coordination. A small trick in one spot is easy to picture. A county-wide performance is harder. When simple answers do not fit well, older stories often resurface. Devon has long had tales of strange winter travelers and night creatures on the moors. Calling the line the Devil's Footprints matched the feelings of the morning and gave people a shared way to talk about it. Folklore does not prove a cause, but it can show how communities process the unknown. The newspapers of the day preserved many helpful details. Letters from farmers and clergy used similar phrases even though they came from different places. Over walls and houses, deep as if heavy, uninterrupted, neat as drill. Several writers said their dogs would not cross the line. Some used split cane or rulers to measure the spacing and found it steady over uneven ground. It is true that excitement can color what people see, but it is also true that many took care to measure and sketch before sending their reports. Those notes still matter. It's also useful to picture a simple scene from that morning. Think of a man in Dawlish who wakes early to fetch water. He steps into his yard and sees the prints running from the gate to his front door, then starting again beyond the back steps. He kneels, looks closely, and feels colder air rising from the indent. His dog stays put and will not cross. He decides to wait for daylight and think before acting. That quiet moment of noticing, checking, and pausing is part of this story too. Modern hobbyists have tried small tests. You can carve a stamp and try to keep a steady stride over mixed ground. You can climb a ladder and see how tricky it is to mark a roof without slipping. You can time-lapse small animal tracks and watch how temperature changes affect them. These experiments do not solve the mystery, but they show the effort and skill a full-scale hoax would require. And they also show how weather can change tracks in ways that might confuse the eye. A reasonable view is that several things may have happened at once. Some prints could have been natural and later altered by weather. A few stretches could have been the work of a prankster. Newspapers may have grouped separate events into one long line. That combined picture would explain a lot. Still, some details remain stubborn. Crisp inner clefts, neat marks on steep roofs, and that odd pause at one door with a restart at the other. After a few days, the snow softened and the records faded. People went back to work. Children played outside again. The name, however, stayed. The Devil's Footprints became part of local memory and returns whenever snow falls clean and quiet. The case now sits in a familiar place for mysteries, between careful observation and limited data, between practical ideas and things we cannot confirm. We do not know what made those prints. They may have been a mix of animals and weather, a careful hoax, or something we have not yet learned to describe. If that last possibility is true, the better question may not be where the trail went, but what or who it was meant to find. Before we close, I'd like to hear your view in a calm and thoughtful way. If you think nature explains it, tell us how you picture that night working from start to finish. Which animals do you think were involved, and what weather would be needed to preserve such tidy marks over roofs and rivers? If you lean towards a human plan, talk us through it. How many people would be needed? How would they handle height and ice? And where would a first mistake most likely appear? If your interest is in folklore, explain why this story fits so easily into winter legends in Britain, and what that tells us about how people respond to the unknown. And if your family comes from Devon, or you have access to old letters or parish notes that mention this winter, sharing a short, dated excerpt could add something valuable to our understanding. If this quiet walk through a strange event was enjoyable, please subscribe to Mystery Trails and turn on notifications so the next episode reaches you. A like and a share help more people find balanced, careful storytelling about hard-to-solve cases. Leave a comment with your reasoning, any sources you trust, or a small experiment you tried in the snow. If you want more winter stories where the environment is part of the evidence, start with our Cold Signs playlist on the channel. And if you'd like to help us license archives, build better maps, and test ideas others skip, consider joining as a channel member. Your support keeps this work steady and calm. Thanks for spending time with this case. On Mystery Trails, the past is not always loud, but it often leaves clear signs behind. Sometimes they're not just stories. Sometimes they're footprints,